we're producing these kids that limit their energy and focus on very narrow areas of performance, and I think that catches up with them in college too.
Today we are speaking with Linda Mornell, who is the founder of Summer Search, which is a program where she began recruiting what we are going to refer to, and Linda, you can give us a better phrase if you prefer a better phrase, because I personally hate this one, but she went out and recruited at-risk youth who couldn't otherwise afford to go on a summer program, and then fundraised and found people to provide the money to have those students go on that summer program. And not just that, she then created a framework to support them once they came back home through their junior year. They did another program into their senior year and used that as a college preparatory framework to help those students really understand that the world around them is not beyond them, and help them kind of find new footing into an arena that they probably would have never entered. Is that a good summary?
Yep. Very good.
How do you, what is your strategy, or what's your internal thing that you hold for yourself when you are sitting across from a 15-year-old?
There's a difference between mentoring and helping. I think that the real successful positive mentors are not there to help or lift up or counsel or advise. They're there to listen. And for all of us, once we feel like someone is truly listening to us, that's where the rubber hits the road. That's where change begins. And the reaching out and the depth, that's when it all changes. If you're approaching an adolescent with, I'm older and wiser and I can really help you with really good advice, that's where you say the kid turns on deaf ears. It's not just parents. So we have to, if we really want to influence young people and help young people, the first thing we must do is really indicate how deeply we are prepared to listen. No matter what they say, you said earlier, adolescents often say the opposite of what they really feel, like, I don't want to talk to you. Usually it's because they're dying to talk to somebody. So understanding that dynamic and not arguing with them and just being present, I really want to hear your story and what you have to say.
But Linda, what if they say things that are bad or destructive or
wait a minute, like what?
And I'm kind of playing a role here, but I'm trying to voice the question that I'm guessing that a lot of adults who are working with teens. But what if they say, I don't want to go to college, or what if they say, I think that, my teachers are stupid. What if they voice things that are wrong and you want to set them straight and teach them?
Well, how do you know their teachers are stupid? How do you know they're wrong? The goal is, God is into details in these situations. And what's wrong with listening? And, well, your teachers are stupid, huh? Tell me about it. You don't want to go to college. That's pretty unusual. You must have some good reasons. I want to hear what they are. If we jump in and, oh no, you want to go to college, you want to do this because you'll make a lot more money. If we jump in with teaching and explaining and controlling and directing, which kids expect actually, you can just feel them turn off. But I'm sure as a teacher and instructor out and about, you've listened to quite a few stories.
I have.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes I've been good in my listening abilities, and sometimes I think I have shut kids off. I know I have.
Why?
Because of that feeling inside of I want to be the one that they've been looking for. I want to be the answer that they've been seeking. I want to be the wise one. And I think one thing that I learned from you in Forever Changed is that ego part of myself that's wanting to be the champion is essentially the one part of me that shuts them off and basically says, you're not your own champion. And I think what touched me so much about what you wrote and the way that you wrote it and how consistently you hit the same message was to say the most important thing that you can do for another person is to truly see them and hear them.
I think that's true. That's part of my training, but I think we can all get to that place. It's realizing that we don't have to do anything. We have an open head, an open space, and that person can step into it in any way they can, any way they want. They can say whatever it is that they're struggling with or that's on their mind. And we don't have to do anything but listen.
What was your plan for yourself when you were 16 years old?
When I was 16, I just remember this feeling that I just wanted to get out. I wanted to get out of the limitations that surrounded me. I wanted to get out and experience the world on my own terms. And I wanted to get out of the mentality of I can't break out. I grew up in a family of addiction, as so many of us do. My father was diabetic, so he wasn't an alcoholic, but he was a compulsive gambler and very addicted to that behavior. So financially, things were always very unstable. So I didn't want that to be my life. And so I think a lot of my motivation came from seeing what I didn't want to repeat and didn't want to live in those terms. And a lot of my behaviors, getting on that Greyhound bus at 3 a.m, I hit the St. Louis bus station, and it was pretty scary. And all I wanted to do was turn around and get back on the bus back home, but I did not. So I think the teaching point here, or the learning point maybe is a better way to say it, you have to take leaps of faith. You have to let go of fear. As you say, with a compass in as safe a way as you can. But risk-taking is terribly important for adolescents, and I think too many kids today are risk-averse. And one of the most important things is, how can I challenge myself? How can I go for hard rather than take the easy way? And that's where the rewards come from. At least for me did. And for all the students that I see, they all take that same leap of faith. I'm going to speak up for parents here. I think it's a parent's job and responsibility to find appropriate and positive ways of risk-taking, insisting on that as a family value. So I think there's nothing wrong with a parent insisting. As a matter of fact, I wish every parent in the country would insist that their child have the opportunity to do an Outward Bound or wilderness expedition type program. And break this pattern that you're only valued for your performance in school. You're only valued for, very often, your performance in school. Nothing else or in sports, but performance. And we're producing these kids that limit their energy and focus on very narrow areas of performance. And I think that catches up with them in college too. But I think it's a parent's responsibility to understand how important it is to let go of their child and ask them to go off and redefine themselves on their own terms. Not in comparison to their peers in school, not in comparison to anyone else, but who they are as a person when they are uncomfortable and wet and with a group of strangers and going for hard.
What have been the major compass points that have helped you find direction? And I heard you talk about in your youth. What was it, as you created Summer Search also, that helped you find your way when things got hard?
First of all, I never expected to do anything like that, ever. And it was a simple idea. It felt like I sort of, oh, bingo, oh, I can do this. Um, it didn't cost a lot of money in the beginning. The programs all gave me a break on the tuition. I had a friend who had a foundation that she supported various projects. So it all sort of fell into place fairly easily. And then the problems, the kids came home, and I realized it was too simple an idea and I needed to develop it. But by year 3, it had me by the throat. I began to dawn on me that this wasn't just a little idea, that I wasn't just this person who couldn't do things really or initiate things, who was a responder. I was somebody who had made something happen that was much bigger than me, much bigger than that original idea, and really had the chance to change lives. And once that hit me, it sort of grabbed hold of me. It was almost an out of body experience. Like, I'm going to do anything to make this happen. I'm going to, whatever it takes, I'm going to do. And I did. I worked really, really hard. It's sort of embarrassing to look back on raising money. I didn't know how to do it very well, so it was pretty awkward. And there were some really embarrassing moments. But I had 3 calls a day, every day, no matter what. And no matter how bad the first and second call was, 3 calls a day asking people for money. And that's what I did. So I think it was realizing that this was something profound that could change lives in ways that I never dreamed about. And once that happened, it was like, okay, I would go to schools. My first employee, Catherine, we would go to schools in Oakland, and the teachers would say, how many kids can you take? And we said, well, it depends on how many kids are candidates for the program. If your students have the qualities we're looking for, we'll take them all. If they don't, we won't take any of them. Well, we have 8 students. How many can you afford? We never turned down a student because of money.
Wow.
If we identified the characteristics we were looking for, and we took in more students than we had the money for, we found the money. And I couldn't live with myself. I raise more money every year. So by year 6, we had an endowment. So if something happened, or we had a cushion, so that everybody we accepted we could take, and we could also support for the second, third year.
One thing that I hear frequently with people who are in their, between 15 and 25 is a fear of becoming a horribly just mundane adult. And how can I enjoy the passion? How can I enjoy just this passionate life and be an accountant? Like, I don't know how I can, like, there seems to be this fear of growing up, which is, that's been around for a very long time, Peter Pan and all that. But how would you help somebody see that you've been able to balance out and not become a passionless ogre of an adult?
Well, when I started Summer Search, when you open doors huge doors of opportunity for someone, and you see them reach for that and let go of fear, it's a pretty heady thing. And I got more and more passionate as I got older, and more excited about doing that. And I wanted to do it more. It's like, I guess, Schindler's List, just one more. I at the end of the day, I could start all over again. So right now, but times change. Right now, one of the things I'm truly passionate about is my grandchildren, and I have 7 of them. So you evolve. I think it's just keeping your love for other people and your curiosity. Probably curiosity is the most important thing. Being curious about people, being curious about why things are the way they are. Not judgmental so much, but just curious. I wonder why that is the way. I wonder why that person thinks that way. Why did they react that way? What's making them tick? As long as you're asking those questions, I think you stay pretty active and pretty passionate.
Have you found people along the way through your life who have been guides and mentors to you? And if you found those people, was there any particular thing that you did in order to find them?
I think, mentors are opportunities to really change and deal with some of the damage that you've had growing up. I think to find there was very little intellectual curiosity in my home. My father, I don't think, ever read a book. He loved the Thoroughbred Record, which was a magazine on horse racing, because he was a gambler. But my earliest mentor was an English teacher who talked about poetry and literature and Shakespeare and things that I had not experienced, and because he was passionate about English literature, he cultivated that passion in me. So I think mentors. A mentor when I was a psychiatric nurse was an older woman, a chain smoker. She was very judgmental in a lot of ways and very outspoken. And for some reason, she loved me, and I felt it. And I felt her interest in me and in teaching me and watching me grow. So, I think it's finding those people that can offer you a whole different experience in your relationship with them. That can be stimulating. It can be healing. It can open up doors for you and different sides of you. And that's then, well, I became so passionate about doing the same thing for young people.
Do you ever suggest that young people try to seek out a mentor?
I think if I say I'm going to find a mentor who will do this for me, I don't know if it works that way, but it gets back to being open and curious and engaged and wanting to know how people think and what makes them tick. And if you come at your relationships with that kind of energy, you're going to find mentors who are going to be very responsive and very interested in you.
I also think that the more that I have learned how to be vulnerable,
yes,
and approach the people that I admire, like, for example, the very conversation that we're having right now.
yes.
I had to ask you, I had to invite you into this conversation. And that took a lot, even still to this day. It takes a lot every time that I approach a new person and say, could I interview you? Or could I have this conversation with you about a student that I have that I think,
yes,
you might be a good fit for? Every time it's a challenge for me. It is uncomfortable. But I think it's also the more that I have learned to say to people, I admire you and I would like to learn more from you, and kind of balance that curiosity with a habit of just saying, I think it's almost an internal dialogue that I have to have with myself where I say, I'm worthy of your attention.
Well, that's another whole issue, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. So what advice or insight might you give if you could, be the magical whisperer to a young person who knows that they want to do something meaningful with their life, but they aren't quite sure exactly what, or they just can't imagine how it would happen?
Talk. Find people that want to listen and tell your story. Every time you tell your story, you create a new and different vulnerability in yourself. Every time I say I want to get in your shoes, every time a student does that, with usually maybe 60-70% of the time, there's tears involved. Because all of us have our hurts and our pains, and once we start talking and really wanting somebody else to understand what those were and how they felt, it becomes a very emotional and vulnerable experience. And every time we do that with another person, it makes us stronger and worthier. If I had final parting words to our beautiful young adults that hopefully are listening to this, it would be, under pressure, in pain, when everything in you wants to pull back and withdraw and retreat into some safe place, reach out. Find ways to reach out. Find the person that will listen and reach out. Every single time, it makes you stronger, not more vulnerable.
I'm so privileged to have spoken with you today.
Thank you.